Saiyans, juggernauts, same thing in this story now, pretty much. Poor Nappa. Hey guys, MasakoX here. Today, we are returning to a timeline which is probably the most flexible and original out of all the adventures on this channel. What is the reason for that exactly? Well, it's to do with the fact that this all began long before Dragon Ball, the original Dragon Ball, had even started. Goku/Kakarot had barely been born, and his father had set about to right the wrongs of both the special and the new old Dragon Ball minor story in terms of what had happened to Bardock and how his clairvoyancy wasn't derided like before, and instead a turning point in Saiyan history and their possible legacy within the confines of Universe 7. What if Bardock, the strongest low-class warrior ever, was able to convince his colleagues into believing what he had predicted about their world's future? Or lack thereof. Today's entry harks back to the story where Bardock was able to warn his allies and fellow Saiyan kids about what their employer, Lord Freeza, was really up to, and as a result, was able to save some of the Saiyan warriors instead of being laughed out of the building like he was in the original. And upon reflection, you could interpret the Kanasan gift as more of a curse to torment Bardock after plundering their people as a parting plan. This wasn't a power that they were blessing to the Saiyan, it was to ensure that this person that had taken them all down would never rest easy again, ever. Well, that was true for sure, but here it actually turned out to be a useful addition to Bardock's already impressive arsenal and skill set. And said skill set would only be enhanced over the years that followed, as he was able to become a pretty potent regent to the Saiyans that had fled Planet Vegeta in the hours of its demise. With the blessing of Queen Cassava, Prince Vegeta's mother, who also survived, Bardock went from strength to strength, as we all know. Now in the last part, the new Saiyan colony had begun to put their plans of dismantling the Freeza Empire into motion. We had reached a point where a major component of said empire fell to the Saiyans, and this would not be ignored by Frieza himself. With the loss of Raditz and Vegeta as lackeys, the only one that the Emperor could rely on in his time of need was Nappa. Loyal to a fault, the former attendant to Vegeta took up the mission with Zarbon and Dodoria at his side, but they proved to be a very poor bastion and protector of the worlds when compared to how the Saiyans handled the operation, now partnered with the majority of the Dragon team led by Goku, of course. At this point, Frieza had no other option but to maximize the Saiyans' most unique and useful trait going. And you know what that is, the Zenkai. In a two-pronged approach, Frieza began a training regime for Nappa by doing what Vegeta had asked Krillin and Dende to do in the Namek saga. Yeah, that. Even though Nappa would get stronger, there's no telling that the rest of him would. Now before we begin, I would like to mention that I will be hosting the Dragon Ball themed convention known as Saiyacon this weekend. You can find details to the event in the description, where myself, Prince Vegeta, Quaman, Anime AJ, Totally Not Mark, and other YouTube content creators, as well as musicians for boot, will be going, as well as legendary voice actors like Peter Kalamis, Brian Drummond, and Ian Sinclair, the voice of Whis, to which I am particularly excited to be hosting. So, if you can make it to Milton Keynes, join us. If not, spread the word that we may return stronger, because right now, this event is a one-time thing, so act fast if you want to come. There are tickets on the door, just for now. With the fall of the Freezer planet T-1000, the world which supplied the majority of the Empire's metal, the Empire is now compromised in terms of what else it can make to counter the Saiyans. All they have really is what they've got active at present, and that is a problem. You see, since the Empire pretty much covers the entire galaxy, shipping extra support from one area to another is going to take time. And this is what the Saiyans, led by Bardock, were capitalizing on. The Saiyans are just a few hundred strong, and they are also strong. Couple that with the ability to transform into giant monkeys, with a 10 times multiplier at disposal, then you can rely on the fact that this concentrated effort can just pick apart the framework of Frieza's handiwork with them barely, countering anything. They can't respond to this. By the time that any forces would arrive, the menace had moved on to the next target. Frieza's arrogance is his undoing. With nobody ever close to his power before, he never planned for a movement or resistance that had enough gumption, determination, and strength to dare challenge him. He just turned up at a place he wanted to take, and he'd just take it. Easy as that. The Saiyans, though, they've got gumption in spades. The Saiyans have continued to pick off more Outer Rim planets, as well as a couple more supply worlds, to further wound the Empire. In fact, some of the guards just straight up surrendered before the fight even began, and pledged their allegiance to Bardock, something that he realistically did not expect to happen. Vegeta had, though, and this was something he was more than happy to point out to Bardock.
You seriously think that you were going to do all this by yourself? Ha! How naive. Weaklings follow the strongest, Bardock. We Saiyans have proven to be mighty, and so these sheep and cattle have chosen to cower behind us as we eviscerate their former master. This is glorious.
Bardock is seething underneath for two reasons. The first being that Vegeta is getting ideas above his station. Bardock here is in charge, not him. The Queen had given her royal assent for Bardock to lead the charge, and he knew that. But the second reason that this is angering him is a bitter pill to swallow. He knows, deep down, that Vegeta is right. Bardock didn't anticipate that people would be so willing to join their cause. He thought the Frieza forces were just steadfast in their resolution. With the Saiyans' reputation, though, they expected resistance, but now they were getting some support in the form of soldiers. Granted, they may be weak in comparison to the main contingent of Saiyans, but it's additional numbers, and there is indeed safety in numbers. Bardock had expected to just simply circle around the main core of the Frieza Empire, just poking and prodding the beast on occasion, and slowly diminishing its presence, but Vegeta was correct. They needed to go after worlds with beings ready to switch sides at the first given opportunity, and there were a lot. This is where we're getting our first signs that Bardock is slowly losing control, being undermined. And after a couple of decades of steadfast loyalty from his subjects, as well as the rest of the Saiyans, Bardock the Believable is starting to disbelieve his own resolve. Goku is able to provide some kind of moral support, but the father of Goku is more than aware that things aren't as rosy as his quirky son would wish to subscribe to. It's not like the old days where they just fled Planet Vegeta. But nevertheless, the Saiyan resistance marches on with more worlds falling. After several months, Frieza feels the time is right to cease the training with Nappa. Nappa was subjected to a serious case of personal tuition from Lord Frieza himself, and then was sent to the medical bay for recovery every time this would happen, before having to do the whole thing all over again. Now, with each time that this happened, Nappa would be able to put up more of a fight against the tyrant, but the gulf between them for a long time was still pretty vast. For some reason, Nappa's Zenkai wasn't that potent. Frieza was getting frustrated that this was taking so long. And with each passing news bulletin, that finding out each bit of his empire was being dismantled, the work that he had made, or more accurate, the work that his father had made prior to his son's succession, was being reduced to cinders and being just completely compromised by these wandering band of monkeys, and now what seemed like traitors to the cause. This was just not good for Frieza. He was not only losing resources, but also personnel, and each time he faced Nappa, he would take out his anger on the unfortunate Saiyan. He was a monkey, and so therefore he was a proxy for these rebels. And despite him being his ace in the hole, it's complicated to say the least. That being said, when things start to look bleak for Frieza, a reading comes back from Nappa's medical chamber, now dedicated solely to him, that his power has now, in theory, equaled Frieza's power of 530,000. Excellent. All this training has meant that he is powerless to resist my bidding. It's time to put this beast to the test. With that, Frieza commands Nappa to challenge him, and sure enough, in that condition, Nappa is able to take on his master as an equal, with Frieza being able to only hold on barely. His surprise is immense. Perhaps this buffoon is taking his own anger out on the Emperor. Well, let's bring the monkey's delusion to a screeching halt, shall we? Frieza then calls forth his second form, and when Nappa launches a mouth cannon in Frieza's direction, Frieza just takes it. And Frieza appears in his giant second form when the dust clears, and he smiles.
That will do, Nappa. Yes, you are ready to serve me. For once, you may prove to be useful. Now, here is what I wish you to do for me.
Bardock and the rest of the Saiyan forces, now with slightly more soldiers backing them, are starting to circle the inner core of the Frieza Empire. With these worlds they are about to take down, the Saiyans have been lulled into a false sense of security. It's all been coming up roses for them, but not for long. Bardock's own concerns with Vegeta's impertinence have subsided with all of these victories coming his way, and the group are now setting their sights on the planet dubbed Frieza Planet 315. This world is the center of communications throughout the entirety, certainly the majority, of the Frieza Empire. If they can take down this planet, or at least disable the communication links to the Empire, this is something that Frieza would struggle to bounce back from, at least in the short term. Security here, though, is tighter than ever before. Frieza's most powerful forces are here, especially in the wake of the Saiyans' counterattack. This is not going to be easy, but Bardock is confident, and confidence is something that one needs at times like these. Goku is also confident as well, and we all know what Goku's like when he's fired up. His power has been noted by his father as well as Vegeta. They have gotten stronger, sure, but Goku, he's outstripped them both, Bardock considerably. Man, what was Gide hiding? Thinks Bardock as they head to 315. When they arrive, Goku notes a huge wave of power emanating from the world. What's that? Vegeta is shocked as well, but he knows exactly whose power that is. It's Nappa's.
How did he get so strong? He's almost as strong as Freeza. That monster.
Vegeta knows what Frieza did, and he's disgusted. He may not have liked Nappa all that much, but even the prince can empathize in this present circumstance.
You fool. You should have left when you had the chance. Now you're nothing but a puppet. What a waste.
Vegeta is in a somber mood, as is Raditz, when they start to form a scouting party down to 315. At first, things go pretty well, with the outer perimeter basically falling to the wayside. This is too easy. The Saiyans know, since they can all now sense energy on their own, that Frieza's forces are letting them just walk in through the front door effectively. What are they trying to pull here? Sure enough, when they reach the central command post, where the communications hub resides fully, Nappa walks out the front door, wearing a brand new set of Saiyan armor, but the rest of him looks distinctly worn and ragged. This may be Nappa in body, but in spirit, this is someone else. Vegeta tries to stare him down, but this version of his former minion is not budging. Silent, cold, and uncompromising. Bardock calls forth his forces to start attacking Nappa. This is just one guy. This Saiyan is not meant to be trusted. He could be taken down, right? But the first wave faces Nappa and they fall within seconds, as does the second wave, and then the third. Nappa hasn't even broken a sweat, and he's just glaring at Bardock and Vegeta like nothing happened. Goku is absolutely horrified at this power. This feels so blank and yet so full. Nappa then calmly raises his arm and points to Vegeta. The prince walks forward and powers up. It's now a two-way fight between Vegeta and Nappa. Well, I say fight, despite the prince's increase in power to the six figures, Nappa is still stronger. A lot stronger. Bardock can tell this is not going to end well and calls forth everyone to retreat, fall back, for the first time. Nappa looks up and then down at Vegeta, whom he is holding like a rag doll, before tossing him back to Bardock's feet. The now minion of Frieza laughs triumphantly, before just simply walking back inside the comms tower. Try again next time. The Saiyans are left to retreat. Half of their number have been left motionless at the feet of Nappa. And not only that, but they fell to someone that was once one of them. This was a major hammer blow to the Saiyan morale that Bardock cannot fathom right now. Vegeta is left to recover. Granted, he will get a massive Zenkai of his own out of this, But I don't think it's going to be enough right now. The prince internally knows what he needs to do next. And that's where we're going to be leaving things for right now. So what do you guys think? What do you think Vegeta is up to after Bardock's lack of action on Frieza Planet 315? Is Nappa unstoppable? Or is there a way to best him? Leave a comment below and let's get this discussion going. And I shall see you in the next video. Catch you later!